Hey family, this is Tanya Rutledge of the Nguzu Saba 365 coming to you with a special Habari Gani Humpday Kwanzaa series. So all this month, every Wednesday, we're going to be sharing a brief message about this season, how we can celebrate it, things to think about, things to do to set us off on the right foot for this month and to set us off on the right foot for 2021. If you're anything like me, you cannot wait to leave behind 2020. But there are no guarantees for the future. There's no guarantee that 2021 will be a better year. So let's work to make sure that we make it a better year. So today's Habari Gani Humpday news is let's follow the L.E.S.S model. Let's follow the L.E.S.S model. The L.E.S.S model is a model of holiday spending for people of African descent coming to you straight from the Nguzu Saba 365. So let's get into it. What is the L.E.S.S model? Okay, so the L.E.S.S model of holiday spending for people of African descent is an acronym. Okay, we're going to go through each point and talk about why it's important. So the L stands for limit. Limit your spending with non-Black business owners and vendors. Why? Is it because you don't like other people? Is it because they did something necessarily wrong? Is it because you are racist or anything inherent that you might hear certain people say about how that statement sounds? No, it's because we have $1.2 trillion worth of buying power, and the overwhelming majority of it goes to non-Black owned businesses, particularly Caucasian owned businesses. If you looked at it in the reverse, look to see whether or not people are spending with your people in such a way. And it's not that people are doing things consciously, it's just that people spend the way that they spend based on how this economy is set up. It's never been set up in a way that favors Black people as a whole. So it would make so much sense that we would be living in a society where we are not supporting our own businesses and sometimes just not having those businesses around to support. So keep in mind, I said limit. So if your kid wants a PS5 this holiday and you know that that's something that your child wants and it's something that you want to give them, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying think about the way that you're spending. If you were going to spend $1,000 on people this holiday and you look at how many non-Black owned businesses and vendors you were going to spend with, maybe you might say, it's not that I'm not going to spend anything, but I don't want to spend 1,000. I'm going to cut that by 300. So I'm going to think about consciously limiting my spending with non-Black owned businesses and vendors because typically they do not spend with me and it's money that's leaving my community and going to someone else's. Okay, the E. The E stands for expand your knowledge of and spending to or with Black owned businesses and vendors. Why? For the same reason I just said that you need to limit it with other people. Typically, the people who support Black owned businesses are other Black people. That's atypical for many other races and ethnic groups. Typically, you will see people have no problem spending with non-Black owned business owners. There tends to be more of an issue with spending with Black owned businesses when that is part of the reason why a lot of our Black owned businesses have to mask the fact that they're even Black owned so that they can make sure that they make money. I recently saw an ad for a Black owned business that was a food product, and many of the people in the commercial were not Black. Why is that? It's probably a marketing strategy. This is my guess, but it's a marketing strategy so that they can diversify their audience and have a wider audience base. Now, part of that makes sense because if we're in a society where we make up maybe 12 to 15%, you want to be able to get that lion's share of the business of other people so that you can make more money for your business. So it makes sense. But we are typically the only group who really has to hide who owns the business because we want to make sure that people don't think, oh, I see a Black face. This is a Black owned business. This is for Black people, and I'm not going to spend there. So expand your knowledge of Black owned businesses and expand your spending with them. Okay, let's move on to that S. Okay, that first S is save money to build opportunity for generational wealth. So, in general, no matter who you're buying from, think about buying less in general. I generally am going to say to spend more with Black owned businesses because typically during the holidays, people may spend $0 with Black owned businesses. So, if I tell you to stop to spend less with them, then I don't know what you do. You might start, I don't know, stealing from them. I don't know. What would you do if you're already spending zero? What's less than zero? Negative. We don't want to go that route. So save money. Again, going back to that example of that $1,000. If you were going to spend $1,000 with non-Black owned businesses this holiday season, maybe you might say, I'm going to cut that down to 700, and I'm going to vow to make sure that at least 100 of that goes to a Black owned business or 200 of that goes to a Black owned business. Trust me, when you start looking, you would be amazed at the wonderful products and services that are out there. And when you have them and when you take advantage of them, there is such a pride that comes from knowing, oh, wow, this was made by hands of people who look like me and my ancestors. It really, really does make a difference. There are so many unique products out there. I actually just saw this really cool product that I actually posted on our private group. If you're a part of the private group, which is the Circle of Nguzu Saba 365, and it's a very small group. But the product was called Elise Lane, and it was like high-end luxury products for like to cases for your hand sanitizer and for your mask. And I just thought that was so innovative because it is so timely to where we are. I'm thinking, I got to get this for family members. All my female family members are going to have it because it's different. It's something new. And then when they find out, oh, this is a Black-owned business, people tend to have a really strong sense of ethnic and racial pride around the fact that this was made with Black hands. So save your money, which means spend less elsewhere, but still make sure that you're spending with our people, okay? And last but not least, surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who think like this. And you may not organically have these kind of people in your life. One thing that I know that I did this year, which was really outside of my comfort level, but I'm so glad I did it, is I just started Facebook friending people who were friends of friends who had similar mindsets to my own, because sometimes when they post, I learn new stuff that I didn't know. Everybody may not agree on everything all the time, but it really helps to kind of surround yourself by that kind of talk. And the other way you can surround yourself with like-minded people is by joining organizations. Even through COVID, you can join organizations that have this kind of a thought base. You can take courses, online courses, things like that, to surround yourself with like-minded people, so that even if you're somewhere that has nobody who thinks like that, you don't feel so alone. You can also educate people around you so that they start getting a bug in their ear, because once they start getting a bug in their ear and they start thinking about these things, then all of a sudden you created like-minded people around you. And how awesome is that? Think about the impact, for example, of somebody turning off the lights in their house in terms of how much energy we would save by people turning off lights in their house. What if on one given day you had 3 million people turn off the lights in their house? How much energy could we collectively save? Think about that when you think about this. If each one of us was doing this, just doing our part, how much difference was it make? And again, I didn't tell you not to buy a PS5. I didn't tell you not to buy the new or latest Xbox. I didn't tell you not to go buy a Ninja Foodie for someone. I didn't tell you to not do any of that. I just said limit it, expand your knowledge and opportunities, to spend with Black-owned businesses and vendors. I told you to save so that you can build opportunities for generational wealth. And you know what? I don't know if I got into the generational wealth part enough, so I am going to pause for a moment to say that because I think I sort of skipped that in my excitement and haste. If you are spending all this money around the holidays, it is very difficult to get in the habit of saving money for generational wealth. It changes your mindset when you say, I'm not doing that. One thing that I love about Kwanzaa that is very different than the way we typically celebrate Christmas in this very consumerist, capitalistic society is that Kwanzaa is not about spending a lot of money. Kwanzaa is about spending money with your people and using your talents and gifts to create gifts for other people. And particularly, the focus is on children. But it is very different when you are giving someone a Kwanzaa gift that is like the Canara Parks Kids series by Noni Irvin, or you're buying the latest Wade Hudson poetry book for your child, or you are buying handmade knit scarves and hat sets for someone's baby that were made by the hands of Lucretia Akins. Akins. It brings a different spirit to it. And you typically won't go broke buying those level of gifts, and so it is easier to get in the mindset of thinking of generational wealth, not just for yourself, but if we're a collective family, for their families too. Because if my family is doing better, trust and believe, your family in some ways will be doing better as well. Collectively, when we do well, we do well. You can travel sometimes faster alone, but man, can't we all travel farther together? So I just want to bring us back to that. And that last S, surround yourself with like-minded people, because I swear this is so much easier to do if you have people around you who think like you. So thanks so much for spending this time with me, this Habari Gani Humpday. And as always, like, share, follow, and stay principled, family. Love you. Good night.